Welcome to AtVenture DealFlow, the podcast where I speak to fundraising founders and the investors who back them. Today, I'm speaking with Mahmoud el Wakil, founder of Homemade. Homemade is building what they call the Airbnb of food delivery, a platform connecting people who love to cook from home with customers who want affordable, high quality, authentic meals. Mahmoud, great to have you here today.
Thank you for
And
having me.
the floor is yours. Tell me something about yourself and about Homemade.
Yeah. So I'm Mahmoud el Wakil. I moved here to the Netherlands maybe 7 or 8 years ago to study. And, as an Egyptian, I didn't really know how to cook much. And I was always ordering food. So I was spending most of my money as a student ordering food. And then I realized, how expensive food delivery is. I'm never really happy with it. And every time I would walk into my house, I would smell one of my neighbors cooking something amazing. And I would think to myself, why is it that I have to order from a restaurant and I can't order from this person who lives right next to me? And that's when, the idea of Homemade came up, like, why isn't this how we order food? Why don't we connect with our community? And especially this was right after COVID. So there was a lot of disconnection. You didn't know your neighbors as much. And since then, this didn't really change much uh, in the community. So we decided to make a change in this. And since then, basically, we're helping a lot of people all over the Netherlands start their restaurant from their home, because usually it would cost over 50,000 euros to do so. And we realized that basically over 60% of people say they feel more lonely since COVID. So we made it that our chefs personally deliver to them. So then they can have this personal connection with the chef and have good food at the same time. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's a interesting idea. Like I also said in the beginning, that you're sort of an Airbnb, but then for food delivery, right? And I think in the beginning, Airbnb, everyone thought it was a crazy idea, but in the end, it turned out pretty well actually. So very interesting. A bit more about you and your team, because you're the founder. Are you alone? Who else is in your team?
Yeah. Actually, before this, a lot of people had to leave uh, the room. So because the team is growing quite a lot. I think now we have 11 people on the team. We just got our 11th person today. And,
Good.
but I still think like we have a few more people joining us. But I don't think it's about the size of the team. It's about who is on the team. So we have people
Mhm.
that are, you know, how you would say, like there's the Navy and there's the Navy SEALs. So we try to have, the best of the best people that join us, or even people that are still starting off in their career. We give them the tools to be extremely well. And I think everyone on the team can at least do, 5x what the normal productivity rate, just because of all of the AI tools they use and so on. So we have people that helped, Talabat, like the biggest food delivery platform in the Middle East, launch in Qatar, become the market leader. We have people that can build like anything and everything. Like Alexander, he was just with me now. He built, an incredible system that helps chefs. So now if you go on signup.homemadechefs.com or you go on homemadechefs.com, you can make your logo, your menu, your pricing, find suppliers around you, do a food safety test, do a check on your kitchen, as if you paid an auditor 200 euros. Basically, in less than 10 minutes, you can do all of this. This usually would have taken you weeks, maybe months. Now you can do it in minutes, and the speed of building something like this really makes the difference. We also have like if I say everyone on the team, we're gonna take up the whole podcast, but we have an incredible team that can really you know make us compete with the billion-dollar companies that are there.
Mhm.
Um, and I think this is our
Because
biggest
you
advantage.
because your role, so that's on your role in the team. What is your exact role in the team?
I would say like anything and everything.
Everything. Yeah,
The
exactly.
main one is basically finding the biggest problems every single day and solving them. Currently, before I used to do everything myself in the very beginning, and then when I
Yeah.
had my co-founder in the beginning, we used to do the video editing, um, the video recording, also the graphic design, the sales, the marketing, the software, like everything from A to Z. We used to do it ourselves, but
Yeah.
obviously now because the team is growing, so we can have people doing this, so you can work on, you know, so basically now I'm working also like solving all of the main problems, but in the day, like from 9 until like 6 o'clock, I'm working with the team. And then from 6 o'clock until, 10, 11 o'clock, I'm just working to do like deep work in that time. But I would say like everything from tech to marketing, but it's quite
Yeah.
fun, I would say. You know, you would get bored
Mhm.
if you're just having one
Yeah,
role in
yeah,
a company.
it's quite a diverse role in the end. But what is your background, your expertise? So I understand, of course, in it's a startup, so you have to do everything as a founder.
Yeah.
But what is really your expertise? If the team would grow even bigger, what will be your main your core role?
I would say like my biggest expertise, I would say, is in marketing. Um, there is basically the biggest marketing conference in the world. I used to go it since I was like 18 every single year. And that really taught me a lot. And I always, used to love it since I was a kid, more or less, and like storytelling and, you know, especially also making an impact. But my background, like in terms of education wise, was international business. So it was everything that comes in business wise. But I would say if there's one thing, I can put all my money in, is it would be marketing. And I think now, honestly, like the most important skill to have now is distribution, because anyone can build any software. For example, our team was paying, we were paying over 90 euros for Notion. We decided to just build our own Notion. So we just built that. And now we built our own HubSpot, basically, that can kind of qualify leads and tell you who's a hot lead, who's a cold lead. So that's 500 euros a month. But just because we built it doesn't mean we're able to become the next HubSpot. And this is how, things are changing. But it's more about distribution. Anyone can build a product, but how do you get people to use it? That's the most important now.
So currently in your team, you have all the concrete roles that are needed there, and it's not that you're needing a specific profile at the moment, or you're lacking a specific profile in your team.
Well, I would say there is one, but he's coming next Monday, which is a
Okay.
filmmaker. So imagine that you're starting up your home restaurant. We do great videos of it, but what if we can make like a short movie about
Hmm.
just your cooking and things like this? I think this is something that's really going to make a huge impact.
Yeah.
But we're getting this already next week. This is the only thing we are missing, because before, I believe, like, obviously through also like doing it, that like the best ads are actually not the most beautiful ads. So if we spend, a few thousand euros on a campaign and we run it on Instagram ads or TikTok ads, it's actually going to do very bad. And that's what big brands don't know how to do, because actually the higher the quality of the video, the more you as a consumer. So basically we built up a natural ad detector. Like our brains are quite smart. So from the first few pixels of an ad, you already know it's an ad and you know that you should skip it. So sometimes actually making ugly ads
Yeah. Yeah.
is actually better than making beautiful ads. So
Mm.
that's kind of what's really working now. And most people wouldn't see something like this. A lot of people just spend a huge amount of money on a campaign. And in
Hmm.
reality, it's just the simpler things are that the ones that work. But something like
Okay.
a short movie is something that we didn't have in our team because we didn't want before. But now we're getting this skill on the team. Yeah.
So you will have someone actually who is able to make ugly movies for you.
No, not ugly movies, but like pretty movies, like
Ah,
super
yeah.
cinematic
Pretty
ones.
simple movies then.
Yeah, let's say something
That's
like that.
basically right? Pretty
Yeah,
simple.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Clear. That's about your team. Then a bit about the problems that you're okay, I would like to know more. You say, okay, I'm solving problems every day. Yeah, well, of course, you have some problems and you try to solve them. What is at the moment your biggest problem that you're trying to solve?
Well, now the biggest problem mainly is calling chefs, for example. Like, so in the last 3 weeks, I don't know if I updated you on this, but then we built this new software that I'm telling you about. We launched a new website. But the thing is, so many people signed up that we need to call them back, because now they need to
Mm.
do all of their steps on the system. So it becomes a lot easier. But then we had maybe 400 people in the last 3, 4 weeks. So this was really
Wow.
incredible. And
So
it's
these are
quite
people
difficult.
that these are people that actually want to open their restaurant basically on your
Exactly.
platform. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Like
And
the
this is
chefs.
really
Oh yeah.
what we need now. We really need 100 new chefs in Amsterdam in the next 2 months. This is our like number one priority now. The whole team is working on this,
Okay.
and the marketing team did a great job on it. But now the sales team needs to be able to handle them and call
Yeah.
everyone and so on. We did build an AI agent that you can call on the phone, like the one I showed you, but now it speaks Dutch
Yeah.
um, as
Cool.
well. but people don't like that. People like the person and like a human talking to them. So it's
Yeah.
not really
And
what we're
even
moving.
preferably you, right? They all prefer to speak to you probably, or is that okay?
Mm, they don't speak to me, the chefs,
No.
usually. They speak
Okay.
to, like, we have 3 people now on the sales team, so they really handle this very well. And then depending on where they are from, so if someone speaks preferably Dutch, then the person that's Dutch speaks. If someone speaks preferably Arabic, they would speak to a person like everyone would speak to the person that would be the perfect match for them. And then these people also help them launch, become,
Mm.
make them their own brand and make them successful. So we're kind of account managers as well. But when you have, 400, 500 people sign up in a few weeks, that's sometimes difficult
Huge.
to call
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
understand that. Yeah.
yeah.
And these people, so the 400, 500 people that signed up, are they, what is, what kind of people are that? Are they all Dutch people, or is there really a mix? Can you share a bit of their background
Well,
of these 400,
yeah.
500 people?
So we're very good at like finding the people that we need. For
Mhm.
example, like in the last few weeks, we didn't get any Korean, Japanese chefs. And actually, I would imagine that the Japanese food that's made at home is completely different than the restaurant I'm going to go and pay, like 50
Yeah.
euros to eat in. So we also need that on the platform. So we decided, okay, we're going to make ads in Japanese, we're going to make ads in Thai, we're going to make ads in Korean. And we did that. So everyone that signed up this week, like 50 people, this weekend, not this week, everyone that signed up this weekend, around 50 people, they are all in mainly in Amsterdam, some from cities around like Almere, like uh, some basically areas around like Hoofddorp and so on. But the majority are there in Amsterdam, and they're all either Korean, Japanese, or Thai because we had the ads in their mother tongue in the targeting. So imagine, if you speak Japanese and someone's talking to you in Japanese saying, "Hey, if you're Japanese and you love to cook and live in Amsterdam," you're gonna say, "Okay,"
Yeah.
and would always wanted to start a restaurant, and they've always had this dream. They're gonna feel like, wow, like this just came from the heavens to me.
Yeah.
So these
Yeah.
ads work absolutely amazing, and yeah, it really builds also a connection with the customers. So whatever cuisine we want in whatever city, we are able to do it. And obviously, I think at this stage, it's more important to come up with this formula because later, when we're expanding globally, we're going to be able to do it. If I need an Italian chef in Frankfurt in Germany, I know how to find it because it's the same system that we have
Yeah.
now, just copied in a different country with a different language and so on.
Yeah.
And in the end of the day, this can help us, scale very quickly in other markets also later on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can imagine then that if you're gonna scale, that you're gonna do that by city, because I mean, also in the Netherlands, if you see Amsterdam, that's, the people living in Amsterdam, that's quite a diverse group of people in terms of nationalities, backgrounds, which is not per se the same everywhere in the Netherlands. So how do you see that? Are you going to target it city by city, or really country by country?
Well, I would say obviously city by city, but country by country, but having, if you have the right teams in different places,
Yeah,
um, I would say we're already talking to operators in different countries. So
yeah,
then, when it's the right time, uh, hopefully in the next year, we already start expanding it. And then we can have, obviously I wouldn't know the German market, just like someone that's really from there in the business. He would know it a lot more than me, or I wouldn't know the US market more than a person that's been, 30 years in the food market. But these are the people that we, are talking to and have aligned with us. Then when it's the right time, we just, we activate it and get these people started there.
yeah, because that's the plan then in the end. So it's not just the Netherlands, you want to really go global.
Definitely. Global, every
Definitely.
country,
Okay.
every city in the world. Because
Yeah,
in every country, every city in the world, there is someone that cooks at home better than
yeah,
a restaurant. And they have a dream of doing it and it's going to change their life. And I believe
yeah,
also in developing economies, I think the biggest impact we're going to have is going to be in developing economies because there is, for example, I'm from Egypt. So there's a lot of women that don't work, they don't participate in the economy, but they cook better than any restaurant that ever existed. If you have this food, you're not gonna order from a restaurant anymore. And they are the sweetest people, and connecting you with these people would also, you know, give you good food, empower those people, change their lives. And I think this is how homemade is gonna change the world. And I think in the future we're not only ordering from restaurants anymore.
Because there's also, of course, there's the one side in terms of your business model, right? So you have the side indeed of the chefs, and then you have the side of the consumers, right? Of the customers. So
Yeah.
can you share a bit on that market, or is there also a problem there, or are you also how are you attracting that market? So you're okay on the side of the chefs, I understand now, because you have 400, 500 applicants now in a few weeks. How is it going with the other side? How what kind of traction do you have there?
Well, on the customer side, this has always been like our best side. We were actually
Mhm.
missing the chefs. So this is really a big
Okay.
problem that we just solved. Uh, Basically, through our Instagram, TikTok, all of these channels, we have a very good customer base. So, you're having massive traffic on our website and app. And that's why also we decided to launch in different cities because we said, wow, like
Mhm.
there's a lot of people that want to order in Rotterdam. There's a lot of people that want to order in Amsterdam. Now we see like a huge waiting list in Eindhoven. So, based on these, we decide where to launch and so on. But I would say on our consumer marketing side, this is uh, until now, at least this was the easier side. Of course, when we launch 500 chefs, then it's going to be a different situation. Then we need to focus on on the customer side. But we do have a good plan for that, including like influencers, including making different campaigns for each chef. You know, we found some ways to generate extra revenue from each chef, and basically we reinvest that in your restaurant. So let's say you want to start Laurie's Cooking, for example, and we will take we're going to give you some things that we get a referral uh, amount from, and we're going to take this money and reinvest it in your business by running different ads for you in your local community. We have different strategies by reaching out to your you know neighborhood, more or less. We can target to the neighborhood level, so the food doesn't have to travel halfway across the city.
Okay. In terms of your business model, then can you share something about it? Because I mean, if you talk about Airbnb, right? They also had a different business model, I think, in the beginning, and they changed it. So, how does your business model look like?
So our business model mainly relies on commissions. So we take
Mhm.
between 10 and 14%. Our most successful chefs, they all have 14% because they get the most value from it. And then you get someone supporting you in terms of, your business, consulting you on how to grow your business as well. And you get a video shoot from us. So someone comes to your house, they film your food, they record your story, just like what we're recording now. And basically we help edit it to make these videos, promoting you. And of course you get your own website. All of this completely free of charge. We just charge you as you grow. And obviously your success is our success. So we try our best to make sure that you're successful.
And you say we charge you as you grow. I mean, that's the 40% then, or you charge something on top of that as well.
No, it's only 10 to 14%. So it's
Okay.
the 14%. Some things, if you want to have like an ad campaign, we charge it at like really discounted prices. We also charge chefs for that if you want to launch like an paid ad campaign. Or for example, getting, on top of other chefs, things like this, then we have some small fees that chefs can pay to have this kind of promotions in the app. But now also we found different revenue streams. Uh, for example, like insurances, like bank accounts, like accountants, things like this that can help um, us as a platform generate more money from um, the chefs. But we try to reinvest this in the chef, so it's not just profit driven way, but also reinvesting in the community, because we know how much we can earn from a chef being extremely successful.
Yeah.
And I think this is the focus for us.
So, for example, if I would be indeed, I want to start Laurie's Kitchen, how would it work then? I need to first register as a company, and then what should I do? What steps should I take?
Well, it's quite simple. You will need to register as a company. Eventually, you can already start making your profile and everything in the meantime. We try to streamline things, so then it's a lot more efficient. So if you wait till everything is done and then start your company, it's one thing. But if you s- do the registration while, like, obviously Kavita registration takes a few minutes. Now we're having a partnership even to make it like basically even faster. You would need a Kavika because you wouldn't be able to get your food safety registration without that. But now we make it a lot easier. Also, with the food safety training, we give you a free, completely food safety training. It usually costs €100 to get. We give it to you for free on our platform, but just to make sure that our customers are safe as well. So you can't
Uh-huh.
actually start without doing the homemade test. Not only the NVWA registrations, but also a test on homemade platform itself. And anyone that goes to homemadechefs.com, they can sign up and you can try it yourself.
And you
Yeah,
also help then basically with all the steps that some, because I can imagine if I mean, I have my own company, but
yeah,
someone else who never registered their own company and they have no idea, for them it's something quite big, right?
yeah,
To do that. So you also help them in this process to
yeah,
take all the relevant steps, and maybe also like tax returns and indeed things like that. It's it's all new for them.
yeah, exactly. So this is what we also, we tried to figure out every single pain point. So this is one
Mhm.
pain point. So we have someone dedicated that would help you do your KVK, also your NVWA registration. That's like the food safety registration, to make sure everything is good on the legal side to protect you. And also now we're making a partnership for the accounting side and so on. There's an
And that's
AI
what you
accounting
mentioned. Yeah.
company.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but also
And
registrations. Yeah.
because the difference, and because, for example, with Airbnb, you don't have to be registered as a company, right? So the difference is because of the food safety.
The difference is because of the food safety. There are some exemptions. So let's say you start and you already understand everything about the food safety and so on. Then basically, you would be able to start if you understand everything about the food safety, and you would have a few weeks exemption until you get your documents, right? But of course, there has to be, a safety mechanism from our side. That's why we always do the tests. We make sure, the chefs really understand it. We do a kitchen check to see if this kitchen even qualifies. And then we have an AI now that makes you basically a food safety plan for your kitchen. This would usually, like, just to get audited, it would be 300-400 euros for your kitchen to get audited. Now you can do it in a few minutes for free on the sign up platform. Yeah,
And I mean, these chefs also learn then about, for example, allergens and stuff like that, right? Because
yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you've heard that before. There can always be the risk, right, of allergens, or indeed someone getting sick of the
Cross
food.
contamination or so on.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
What will happen if this is happening? I mean, it can always happen, right? If I go to a restaurant, it can also happen. But is
yeah.
it then the same process as what happens when I go to a restaurant? Basically,
It
you
is
are
the same
trying to
process.
mimic this. Yeah. Okay.
I would
Yeah.
say it's even better than in a restaurant,
Okay.
because if you think about it, a restaurant kitchen is not very safe because of how many people are using it. So you would have a cutting board and you don't know who used it in the morning, and you're working in the evening, and it's not something that you really care about as much as the food you cook at home, because this is what you cook for yourself or your family. So you'd really be careful with it in general. Plus, you know that you don't have a BV, so their liability would be on you personally. Plus, you will have to go through the training before you even start. So
Yeah.
before you even start on homemade, you have a few videos you have to watch to understand these. You know what you're saying is kind of very basic, but it also gives you tips and tricks and things like how to store food properly, how to separate things properly. So this is, one of the most important things we take care of with chefs, and it really, really, works how we do it now. But of course, if anything happens, then obviously then it's on the chef, because
Yeah.
they have been going through all of these steps. They're also registered with the NVWA, so they would have the liability in case anything happens. But luckily, we're quite sure anyone we get on board doesn't really have this risk, just because of what they have to go through before.
And I mean, I've ordered it myself from
Yeah,
Homemade, and I was really impressed by, I mean, the way it looks. It's really professional. I mean, to be honest, I was expecting homemade, yeah, maybe something homemade and a bit, but it was so, like, it looked really professional. So that's also something you look at then, right? So how do you ensure the quality? Because okay, first, the chefs are doing this whole intake, but then they have to do it, right? So how do
yeah.
you make
Mm.
sure that indeed the quality is what you are telling your customers?
Well, we have a few guidelines for chefs in terms of like
Hmm.
packaging and things like this, but I'm quite sure. Okay, so the thing is with homemade food doesn't look good, but it tastes really good. So
It looked
usually,
good and it tastes good, actually. It
okay, but
tasted
then
good,
the chef
both.
did a
Yeah.
good job.
Yeah, yeah,
Then this
yeah.
chef did a good job. He's a great chef. One of the great chefs that we have. I can tell you, the more chefs you're gonna try, the more you're gonna love it. But like, there are some foods I have tried personally
Mm.
that they don't look so pretty, but they taste absolutely incredible. Because also the way it's packaged and things like this is something that the chefs have to learn, and obviously for them to succeed, where we can get them the customers, but they have to keep them. Basically, this is what we always tell them. So it's their job to keep the customer. They have a very high retention rate because of this. Because when you order from a chef, it's quite different because this person wants you to order again, of course. So they want to give you something extra, or they want to do this, or they want to do that. Especially if it's your neighbor, it's quite different. You order it in an office situation, but if it's someone that's in your neighborhood or something like this, it's really going to be a completely different, unique experience. And this is what we're trying to build.
Yeah,
Because this connection part,
there's a story behind it, of course, as well then,
yeah,
because you can say, "Oh, I ordered this from this and this person." Yeah, so that there is also a story to tell. And are
yeah.
you not, I mean, is there a risk that these neighbors, for example, are saying then, "Hey, wow, this is going so well. I don't need homemade anymore. I'm just gonna tell my neighbor, hey, you can order directly from me, and we skip the 10 to 14% commission." How are you? I mean, that could happen, right? How do you foresee that?
Well, we do have a very good system for that. From the beginning, we foreseen that because, as an Egyptian, that's the first instinct I would have. I'm going to try
Yeah, yeah,
to bypass this and get directly from the person
yeah.
instead. But then we have very strong contracts with the chefs. So
Uh-huh.
if you with Laurie's Koken, if you are doing this, then unfortunately you're gonna have to pay a 500 euro fine because of it. Because we have this in our, like, any customers that are acquired through Homemade, you really cannot have this with them. And obviously, if you stop working with Homemade, you have to delete all of the contacts that you've got through the
Yeah.
platform and so on. So we have very good contractual mitigations, but this is not really the reason why people don't do it. It's also the personal relationship we have with chefs. This is something extremely important because chefs, we see chefs renewing for the second and third year because they really have a great connection with us and they really, grow their business with us. And on the other hand, in the future, of course, this is going to be an issue that will come up as we grow a lot bigger. But then the way to fix this is just to tell you, okay, as a customer, you can get a 50 euro reward if you basically snitch on a chef for doing this. And then no one's really going to do it, or people are going to try to trap you into doing it. Hopefully, we don't have this problem, but this is an easy fix for it. So we've already thought very well through it.
You're
We have a good
already, yeah, yeah,
contract ready.
yeah. And then in terms of competition,
Yeah.
because there are some, I mean, of course, there's the obvious players in the market like an Uber Eats, and these are, of course, also competition, or maybe you don't see them as competition. And then there is more the global players that in the US, right, that is also working on the same similar mission as you have.
Yeah.
How do you distinguish yourself from them?
Well, I would say it's quite different. I think it's really about the stories of the people. Of course, the distribution. Let's say company like Chef in the US. So Chef is now worth a bit over 300 million. And I do think with the budget that they have, we're still doing great marketing compared to what they're doing.
Okay.
But I really think it's about distribution. So they're not really sticking with the direct order model anymore. They're focused more on the meal subscriptions. And that's mainly because of distribution. If you're not able to make it, you know, consumer marketing, for some people it's the hardest thing. For some people it's very easy to do. I think for us it's very easy to do consumer marketing, where other companies it's not so easy. It's easier for them to do a B2B model. So I think they're more focused on the B2B model, but also because they're not branding the chefs themselves. They're not helping them with pricing. It's not dedicated to empower chefs, but more to pick a few people that they work together, that they will get a salary or so on. So they're kind of changing the core of the model is supporting the entrepreneur. They don't really have that. They just have home cooked food. Home cooked food is great, but then I think it's also about supporting the entrepreneur. I think it's really about helping people. And I think, we're not the first people that tried to do this, but just we're the best at doing it because people tried to do this a few years ago here in Amsterdam, but they didn't have the tools that we have currently to be able to make it happen. It used to take weeks, to make a logo, branding, menu, making systems to find them customers and so on. And I think the most important thing is really distribution, getting customers, because now it's also about timing. Now customers are really complaining. Food prices are rising, living costs are rising. Like if someone's living in Amsterdam, like most people, they don't have, you know, any buffer zone. It's like they're spending all their money on their rent. Anything else is just basically living. And the thing is, they're too busy to cook at the same time. So it's really a tough situation for a lot of people. And I think this is really going to help make their life easier with some good food as well.
Yeah, so on two sides basically, because that could also mean an extra income stream for some people in Amsterdam, but on
Exactly.
the same side, on the other hand, also for customers that are looking for cheaper food options. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Like how
And
how
is
how I imagined it. Sorry.
yeah. No, no, go. Yeah, I would love
like
to hear how you imagine it. Yeah.
like how I imagined it in the very beginning days. It was basically a system where you would cook more a few days of the week. So some like because when I cook personally, I cook amazing food. Like I cook like you can't buy it in a restaurant what I cook, but I don't cook.
Can I
That's the
order
thing.
from you as well
No,
at Homemade? Yeah.
no, not
No.
yet. But then this was the concept. I said, okay, what if I can like cook the same food I cook for myself? I maybe cook once every 2 weeks, maybe something like that. If I
Yeah.
can sell this food, I would have enough money to order for the rest of the week. So what if we have a model that like some days I'm cooking, some days I'm ordering, and then it's the perfect world, and the money stays between me and my neighbors,
Yeah.
and that's really going to make us, as a neighborhood, more close and more connected, and also overall the local economy would have more money because the money stays within us. The circle doesn't end up in the McDonald's corporation in the US, basically.
That is a beautiful mission and vision. How about numbers? If we talk about revenues, what is your ambition there? I mean, of course, you're very early stage now, but where do you see yourself in the next years?
I would say in the next year, I would say, if we hit our targets, and I think we're going to overachieve our targets, we should be at maybe 150, 200,000 per month by the end of the year. But I think overall it's going to be a lot bigger in the future. Yeah, I think in the future, maybe 7, 8 years, we already have, you know, our IPO or getting close to our IPO. And that's when, like if you think about DoorDash, for example, DoorDash is almost $100 billion company. And I think the market is massive, and there's still a lot of opportunities, especially in a time where AI is really growing. People are going to work less, so people have more time to do things. There's a lot of jobs that are going to be taking with AI and robotics and so on, but not in a bad way. But maybe some other things would come up like this to make it kind of as a safety net for society. That's what we imagined in the beginning of Homemade, where it was COVID. A lot of people lost their jobs because it was all of a sudden COVID. So if Homemade existed then it also would have been a perfect timing because everyone can cook food at home and sell it and still be able to make a living. And I think this is going to be, our revenue is going to be in the billions in the future. But then in terms of the targets for this year, that's something around 150 to 250 per month in revenue.
Okay.
And I
And
think,
that's your revenue target. So
yeah,
did you put some other targets for yourself in terms of okay, number of cities, number of chefs, but maybe also like indeed the impact that you're making on certain cities or where people normally wouldn't have any income or have now a sort of side income. Is there some metrics or KPIs that you put for yourself as well?
yeah. Well, the main one was like the chef one, which we aim
Yeah.
to have 300 by the end of the year. But it seems like we're going
Yeah.
to have 300 very,
Yeah.
a lot faster
So
than this.
you need more milestones indeed. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but like hopefully we're able to help these people launch quickly, be successful as well. But yeah, I'm really happy we got this one, fixed. But now, of course, the team has to get busy calling them, making sure they get started, making sure they have everything correctly, and so on. But I think we're at a really good time to do so. Hopefully, AI is also evolving more in the next few months to even accelerate us faster. Then we don't have to have 1,000 people on the team. We can just have 15 people that are like really, really
Yeah.
killing it.
Okay. Okay. But there's not some sort of impact KPI that you put for yourself as well,
Well, like
apart from
my
the
biggest goal,
revenue and yeah.
of
Yeah.
course, my biggest goal, I don't know if we can achieve it this year. I don't think so, is to tackle the global hunger issue. So global hunger issue costs 13 billion. We want to be able to raise a meal every time someone orders. I think this year what we want to launch is an initiative, a neighborhood initiative that, we're able to cook for people that are hungry in the communities, because in many communities, people still sleep hungry, even here in the Netherlands. In other countries, that's a lot of a bigger problem. But our ultimate vision is to tackle the global hunger crisis. It costs 13 billion to end world hunger, which is nothing compared to how much money we have in the world. Like the US
Yeah.
military budget is,
Yeah.
1.8 trillion per year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just less than
It's
10% of that can
peanuts.
easily solve it. Yeah, it's peanuts, exactly. It seems like a big number, but it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Okay. One small question I still had is, and we discussed before, but logistics, because that's always a big issue with. Well, also if you look at supermarkets that do deliveries, how do you see that
Yeah.
logistics? Is that an issue or not?
I think this is where Homemade wins on the logistics side. So basically, what we have a system that kind of changes this. We're really changing the delivery system. Most of these supermarkets or so on, they actually lose money on the delivery.
Hmm.
So
Exactly.
we realize it costs between 4 to 9 euros per delivery per order. That's what's making your food so expensive. That is why
Hmm.
we made it that the chefs deliver to you themselves. So basically, as a chef, if you are selling your food and you deliver it yourself, you make a lot more money from the order. Plus, you have a personal connection with your neighbor. Plus, you have an incentive to deliver to a close range because you don't want to deliver to 10 kilometers away. That's just a headache. It's a waste of time. But you want to deliver to the 1 to 3 kilometers around you because that's quite easy in the Netherlands. If you have a bike, you can easily reach it within a few minutes. And it helps us, save emissions because you're not so incentivized to use a car. You want to bike more, you want to, walk more. So you're going to try to focus on the distance closer to you. And that's
Hmm.
when we really have this community aspect and also shortening the supply chains, the carbon emissions that go into it. And this is also helping food become more affordable. That's why Homemade is also more affordable than other platforms. But we are talking now to some partners to allow delivery, but only for chefs that really need it. Like imagine like a grandma that is there alone, she won't be able to deliver on her own. So she would need the help of a delivery driver, and that's the empowerment that we need, and we know that their food is gonna just really do very well. And customers wouldn't mind paying the extra because they know about the story. But it's really then about the story because you need to know the story of this person to order.
And it's then the customer who pays the delivery cost, right? So that's
Yeah.
then in your business. Yeah. All right. All right. Okay. Final question. Final question I have is on your funding round because you're raising at the moment. Can you share details about your funding round?
So we're raising a total of 500K round through a CLA. We already have a good amount of it that is in. And hopefully you guys are also joining in on the deal.
So thank you, Mahmoud, for sharing the details about Homemade. It was very insightful. For everyone who wants to know more about Mahmoud, you can go to homemade dot. What's the website?
Homemade.chefs.com. If you want to become a
Homemade.chefs.com.
chef, yeah,
Yes.
homemade.chefs.com. And then
Yeah.
otherwise you download the Homemade app on
And
any device that you have.
you can order. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Sounds great. So for more information, go to adventureplatform.com. My name is Laurie Lancee. This was Adventure DealFlow. See you at the next great deal.